I'll be sure. You guys really expect them to go down, but it could. I have your banner in my car too, and a lockbox for you.
Okay.
You have to grab it today, but it'll be there tomorrow if I see the office too. My husband cleaned out my car for me because I had too much crap in the back seat.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize he'd thrown it in the garage, so I kind of forgot I hit it. So
Gotcha.
just so I was in the garage, I'm like, what it? Oh crap, it's not.
So this, preface, this is one of the longer Ignite sessions. So, we're right on time, but yeah, it's just kind of like working with living sellers. I'm just gonna kind of move along. And yeah, I know we've all had kind of a long day with Cody and so traveling and all that. So just want to be respectful of everyone's time. Stop me if there's any questions, but we'll get started. All right, today's agenda is threefold. Number one, we're going to identify the key information to build success with the buyers and the sellers. Number two, we're going to employ strategies to assist buyers and sellers with decision making. And number three, build a strong success foundation relationship with your clients and the other agent. So before we get started, any questions or anything that you may like to make sure I address or that we cover? Yeah, it's pretty straight. That's what I like about Ignite. It's pretty straightforward, right? All right. So if I can volunteer to read the quote on the screen.
Virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers or sellers' real estate experience above all else. They are always thinking service.
100%. I mean, kind of like we're going to talk about red code, you said, when you're more relational. I think we've all been on the other side, or maybe when we weren't licensed and we're working with a builder that's just, oh, it was icky. Yeah. Yeah. And like, do you refer to that agent ever again? So, yeah, what I found is that, yeah, being customer centric focused, that'll garner those repeat referrals. I know Jennifer's a great example. I know she has a lot of like repeat and investor clients.
My last review said I was God sent.
That's really, that's, yeah. So, yeah, then you start to get reviews like that, and that person's here gonna start with that you again, and the abundance just keeps coming. So yeah, I love that quote. So the point of the transaction we are focusing on today is the time between getting a signed buyer or listing agreement and receiving or making an offer. However, just as you're going to take aspects of lead generation into the transaction, you'll of course take aspects discussed today through and past closing. Our first topic is success with clients. Let's cover the things you can do with both buyers and sellers to make this process as transparent and smooth for them as possible. So a great agent and client communication consists of 4 components. So you need to make sure that your communication in these instances, number one, provides a strong foundation for a sustainable relationship. Number 2, sets and manage those expectations proactively throughout the transaction. 3, creates peace of mind for your clients. And number 4, enhances your credibility. It's important to recognize that you can rarely over-communicate with clients. This is a complicated process that they will only navigate a few times in their lives. You will continually set expectations and keep everyone on track with your communication. And as we've discussed, command as well as your KW app are here to help automate that process. With 3 levels of service. So in addition to the 4 underlying ideas, you need all of your communications with clients to convey. Let's remind ourselves of the 3 levels of service from the millionaire real estate agent. Remember, by keeping these levels in mind, who will serve your clients to the highest level possible. Number 1, purpose. So masters of service have a clear understanding of why they should be hired and can articulate it to anyone at any time. Great service begins with a clear purpose for why someone should work with you. Number 2, your value proposition. Best agents can translate their purpose and why people should hire them into a specific set of services they will provide. And number 3, fiduciary. How do productive agents provide a level of service based on their commitment to act as a fiduciary for their clients? They place their clients' interests above all others, even their own. A fiduciary brings a level of care, trust to a relationship that a functional agent. So to unpack that a little further. So we discussed this way back in day 2 in the real estate expert portion of Ignite. So when you operate as a fiduciary for your clients, you earn the rights to be their expert of choice. Does anyone remember the difference between a functionary and a fiduciary?
I'd say functionary as just doing what is asked of them, and fiduciary is looking out above and beyond what they need and looking for the client's needs first.
For sure, absolutely. That's pretty much to a T. Yeah.
We've taught this class.
Yeah. Jennifer is also we're both pursuing academy as a pro trainer. So we've kind of taught a lot of the similar Ignite classes. So that's absolutely right. So it's basically, the way I boil it down, a functionary, they can fill out the paperwork, send the offer. They can do all the things on paper a real estate agent can. Fiduciary is truly, putting the client's interests above your own. It's not being afraid to, if need be, terminate the deal, or it's, not having commission breath, right? Because knowing that there's a better fit or opportunity for the client. So dual agents. So this is a great place to bring up the concept of dual agency. So, are you familiar with that, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. So working for both the seller and the buyer transaction. Though this is legal in many areas, it is not advisable, especially as a new agent. Many infractions that endanger agent's license stem from this practice. Being in a fiduciary relationship with your client means making all decisions based on their best interests alone. This is challenging when you're working for 2 parties with competing interests. Will your buyer expect that you're telling them everything about a house, even items that they may not be required to disclose? Will your seller expect that the offer you are making on behalf of your buyers is their best offer, since you have knowledge of their pre-approval amount of finances? So which of our WI 4C2TES apply to not representing both sides? I know.
I can see them, but I don't know all of them.
It's at the beginning of your books.
Yeah.
All the acronyms. I saw when I was flipping through someone.
Yeah.
When I'm finding something, I saw it in there.
So one of the colorisms is WI4C2TES. So to give you the answer, it's a win-win in trust. So this is saying if you were a dual agency, it's hard to accomplish a win-win transaction, as well as developing trust for both seller and buyer.
Is dual agency allowed in Kentucky?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, what's that just mean?
the first time I did it, I thought it was the hardest thing in the world to do, but that was years ago when I had my license the first time. Now I've done it recently, a couple of times, and it wasn't as difficult. But the one, I had a barbershop where I had both sides, and the deal would have fallen apart if I hadn't been on both
Yeah, and
sides.
commercial's a little bit different too, but yeah, I've done it several times, but it's always been very unique situations. It really depends on the individuals involved in the transaction. I think Indiana describes it better because they call it limited agents. If you represent both sides, because you are limited in what you're able to represent for each.
Okay,
I always like to point that out, something you wouldn't know, but it's something that, because I'm licensed in Indiana, I know that. So it's just little, it's allowed, it just, they call it something different.
Yeah. It is tricky, right? I think it's very circumstantial. Oh, yeah, I can see where it could be very messy.
Pretty business, simulation. Hey, with that, man,
So in addition, well, hi, I'm Doug.
hi, I'm Sonia.
Hi, Tom. We are on page 16.11 on your participation. Okay. Yes, yeah, just going over the nuances of dual agency. So in addition, you owe confidentiality to both parties. How can you be sure you're not giving away confidential information, even accidentally? Here are some things that could go wrong with dual agency. Are you really prepared to negotiate against yourself? When negotiating inspection items, how do you make the seller's case to the buyers that the HVAC system is in working order and therefore should not be repaired, while telling the seller that the system is close to the end of its useful life and therefore should be replaced or covered by a seller paid for warranty? Both are legitimate representations of the same issue. They just come from different perspectives. When you ever go to court against someone who shared your attorney, you feel like you're getting the best representation possible, while your lawyer spend half the time working for the opposing side? If not, refusing to do dual agency may be the best course of action for you. Many agents will work both sides of the transaction, however. It's something to think carefully about, especially as a new agent. If you make it a practice not to work both sides of the deal, you can add that to your value proposition so that your clients know they will always have the time, expertise, and honest advice throughout their transaction without any competition. Yeah. All right, so number one, so setting expectations. So we talked about the 3 levels of service and revisited being in a fiduciary relationship with your clients. You could see those as the what's of being a great agent. Now let's talk a little bit about the how being a great agent. How you reach the 3 levels of service to your clients is largely about communication and education. As a real estate agent, you were immersed in buying and selling houses every day. It's your job, and for a lot of us, it's our passion as well. For our clients, this is something they may have never done before. Even if they are a repeat buyer or seller, they are unlikely to do this in every 8 years or so, according to NAR statistics. The stakes are huge. For most of us in the US, our homes are our single biggest asset. Therefore, you're going to demonstrate your expertise by educating your client on the realities of the market, as well as their personal real estate process, and you are going to do it often. So to do this, first, you need to set expectations for the process and for communication. So here's the transaction process. So a key component to educating your clients is to review the entire process. You've likely already touched on it during your buyer listing consultation. However, this is a complicated and emotional process that people don't remember everything the first time you tell them, especially when it isn't in proximity. This is true for almost everything in our lives. Tanya, if I ask you what you're having for dinner a week from today, would you know?
No.
Yeah, right? If you don't, are you worried that if you don't have an answer? Well, of course not, right? That meal is not your needs right now. Right now, you're much more interested in your next meal, picking up a dry cleaning, getting a present for your niece's birthday this weekend, or a million other things. It's the same with the buying and selling process. So setting time expectations. So for example, if you told a buyer they need to go out to see properties the same day they hit the market 2 months ago when they were focused on getting their down payment together, you likely won't remember the details. If you are now setting up their search, you should update them on how quickly the market is moving in their desired neighborhood and price point. Make it clear why it's important to shift their schedules around to the point of inconvenience to see a house that fits the criteria. At the same time, you'll also need to remind them that if they see a house they like, they need to put in an offer right away. And the same goes for sellers. Just because you covered how chaotic the first week on the market might be during the listing presentation 2 months ago, doesn't mean that they remember now. Reiterate how important it is to be flexible for showings. Because for most people, it's very rare to have to make such big decisions in such a short period. Prepare your clients for this change at their day-to-day pace. This is especially important for this as you get to the time-sensitive portions of the contract. Often, contracts require an answer within 24 hours, if not less in hot markets. Therefore, you should make sure that your seller knows once the house hits the market so that they will respond to your texts and calls immediately. Remember, you're always staying in communication and setting and reiterating expectations for the process. And setting document expectations. You'll likely need to go over the contract before you ever see a house with your buyers and before showings begin with your sellers. By going over it now, when there isn't time pressure, they will have some familiarity with it before they need to rush to put an offer in or quickly decide on acceptance. At each stage, you'll review with them where you are and where you are going. So in addition to contract, what are some other documents you guys think that we would need to go over with our clients in our market?
The seller's disclosure, yeah.
Yep. So lead-based payments, property disclosure, yeah. And I mean, if it's, I would say too, if it's depending on the market, maybe things like, it may be called differently in Kentucky, but like an appraisal gap addendum, or, if you're working with buyers and it's a super competitive market, they want to buy a house and they may have to offer over, what that would look like to your buyer. And then also be prepared to explain that to the listing agent. Like, hey, we're offering, $30,000 over list price. I'm also attaching, it's called an appraisal gap addendum or waiver, showing that if the property doesn't appraise by X amount, we can cut the difference. So things like that. But it kind of depends on the market.
I definitely think a conversation about the whole home inspection thing has to happen.
Yes.
Because a lot of bills are falling through based off of the home inspection these days.
That's a great point. We at the Cherie Group, we have what's called the 5 things document. And it kind of future paces our clients, either a buyer or seller, because if it's a first-time buyer and they see a 60-page inspection report already with data driven, they're going to lose their mind. So we just break it down. Hey Dana, we just got the inspection back. As a reminder, we really just want to focus on the 5 things, which are safety, systems, wood destroying insects, roof, water intrusion, structure. Everything else is kind of run-of-the-mill maintenance and cosmetic. We really want to be focused on these 5 big things. And the same with our seller, because of course the seller is going to see the inspection and the defect notice or request for repairs and be like, I'm not fixing any of that. Like, well, let's really focus on these important things, because here's the reality. We need to disclose these things if we go back on the market anyways. Let's be open-minded, fixing these or figuring out some middle ground, because we now know that the house is affected with these items. We're gonna have to disclose it if we relist anyways. So that's a it's let's see. So systems, so like mechanical, plumbing, electrical, wood destroying insects, structure, and foundation, I guess. Roof, that's usually a big one. And then water intrusion. Those are like most big boo-boos, I feel like fall under some sort of one of those categories. Would you agree, Jennifer? I mean,
Definitely, yeah. But it's important to set that ahead of time, because otherwise they do get caught up in little details on both sides. I mean, the seller may see their house as perfect, but they have to understand the buyer's not gonna see it the same way, and vice versa. But
Absolutely. So at each stage, you'll review with them where you are and where you're going. And it says right here, future pace with your client. Be sure they know everything that is going to happen before it does. For example, when talking to buyers who have just submitted their offer, you would tell them how long the seller has to get back to them, what the outcomes might be, accept, counter, reject, and what the basic steps may be in each of those 3 scenarios. So we will talk more about this on the day we cover the offers.
Make sure they also know that they may not get a response. That does happen.
That's true.
That is the hardest one for a buyer to accept.
Yeah,
No response is a response.
yeah, that unfortunately is true. But letting them know, you're just stay on top of the agent, like, I've sent them a voicemail, an email, text message. At least letting them know you're doing all that you can, even if the other agent is not professional.
Yeah.
Which,
We've all been, well, after a few years, you'll get that one agent that just doesn't answer.
yeah,
And it's very frustrating, but it does happen on occasion.
number 5 during the process is to set communication expectations. So some agents feel they can never turn their phone off or take a day off. And that's really not the way to live your life, right? So if you will turn your phone off at a certain time each evening, make sure your clients know this. If they are aware you won't get back to them between, say, 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., they will not be looking for a reply during those hours. Let them know that you will check your messages first thing in the morning and attend to anything that they need then. And this goes both ways. So be sure to find out how your client prefers to be communicated with. For example, do they hate texting and prefer phone calls? Should it be a group text to both spouses, or does one work overnight and prefer not to be texted when they're sleeping? And then do they possibly have children who need homework assistance and dinner, and they prefer not to be disturbed from between 5 and 8 p.m.? I think that's all just what I'm hearing, is this just goes back to communication, how they want to be communicated with, so that you're not disrupting their pattern, and then they know how to contact you when you will give it. Number 6, set contingencies. So what will happen if a home comes on the market that is perfect for your buyers? This is the weekend your sister is getting married out of state. Have a plan and communicate it well in advance. For example, if the wedding is on May 1st and you start working with these buyers on March 1st, you already know about the wedding. Communicate it when you meet, after signing the agreement, and in clear intervals leading up to the date. Be sure they know you have a colleague who will cover the showings if needed. As a listing agent, perhaps your sellers will be out of town and unable to respond to offers on a particular weekend. Get that information well ahead of time and put it into the MLS so agents know they need to provide a longer response time on offers submitted during that weekend. Also, let your clients know when communication needs to change. For example, you will adhere to their 5 to 8 p.m. no call rule unless necessary once they put their home in repairs. When time is of the essence, we all must act quickly. Make it clear to your clients when that turnaround becomes a primary concern to the success of their purchase or sale. These details should be shared early in the relationship so everyone knows what to expect. We've got a script for this during our, I just think, our buyer consult, but it's, say Dana, you and I are doing consult. I ask what your preferred method of communication is. Just a text message. And I agree, I jot that down. And then once we kind of get to timeline, kind of as it states in this course, I'll say, Dana, there may be some times where either we're submitting an offer or going to contract. I understand you want to text. But some information is best delivered on the phone. I may just shoot you a text to say, hey, Dana, we carve out 5 minutes to hop on the phone, just to talk. I have never not had anyone have an issue with that, because it's showing that you respect their boundaries, how they wish to be communicated with. But also conveying that, hey, when it gets like super important, we just need to carve out a few minutes to hop on the phone. That's just how we handle, that awkwardness if someone truly doesn't want to get on the phone. Number 7 is to set up-to-date market expectations. So updating your client's view of the market is another way for you to show your expertise. They need to understand the realities of the market they are in. Actually, I love that sentence. Just because some sellers want to operate, in a market they wish we were in, not as not as the reality is currently dictated. Is it a seller's market or an extreme seller's market? Are house sales slowing down to become more of a buyer's market? National trends in housing are often on the news. However, that doesn't mean your clients are paying attention or that the trend nationally is the same as your market. Set clear intervals in which you will re-educate your clients on the current market. A move from a median of 60 days on the market to 45 have an extreme impact on how quickly your client will find or sell a home, and therefore on the plans they have surrounding that sale. Be sure to translate what the market means to you. In an extreme seller's market where houses are going for an average of 10% over asking price, should you be looking at the top of their price point? Probably not. In that market, explain that you are setting your buyers up for success by showing them houses at their price point that they can go over asking on. Know what wins in your market and communicate that to your clients. Is there what are some of everyone's favorite ways to, win in a competitive market or kind of get your buyers under contract if it's say the area is hot or there's a market below or
Number one way I'd say is talk to the seller's agent early on, before you do the showing, not when you're trying to write the offer, and ask them if we're interested, what are you looking for in an offer, and is there a deadline for me to get it to you?
Yes.
So that way you can set that expectation with your buyer before you go through the house, and hey, if you like this, we only have a few hours to make a decision, that type of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so important to communicate with the other agent, especially from the beginning. And I think if you communicate with them first, now when they call you and you haven't had communication with them and they say they have an offer, sometimes you're like, do we have an offer? But if you had reached out to them initially, then you would have established a little bit more of a trust so that when they do call you and say, hey, oh, by the way, I did get another offer, then you know that they really did. Because there's been times that people have called and you like, eh.
Ethically, they're not allowed to lie about it, but you still wonder.
Oh my goodness, look.
Brian Tracy said, remember, people lie.
I ain't that.
Well, and sometimes it's a verbal offer, sometimes it's not it may not be a bona fide offer, but they can still say if they've got a verbal offer, it is not. So it's, mincing words, but we do get it.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's a great strategy. I think the two, let's say, low-hanging fruit would be contact the listing agent and then also read the private remarks. Because that can also give you clues on what maybe the seller, maybe what the listing agent put in that the seller might need. Like, for example, if they need 48 hours to respond, or if they need like at least a 30-day post-close, and then you just blindly send the offer and you didn't read that, it's kind of like,
even if it's just something small, like the washer and dryer will stay, the
Exactly.
pool table is not leaving the house. You acknowledge that in the offer, it just shows that you've actually read it and understand what they're looking for.
And I'll say this, when the agents on my listings who have called me or text, communicated, it feels like getting off on the right foot already, because they're communicating already. It's just it seems like a prelude to greater things to come.
Yeah.
So I like that. Another couple of tactics, shopping days on market, price cuts, those are usually indicative of, okay, we might be able to get it off make an offer and get you in this home, as opposed to it just got listed, it's a hot area, it's like we're competing against 4 other offers, right? Awesome. So number 8 during the process is to set expectations seamlessly with your KW tech. So as usual, KWS technology you can leverage to help show your expertise clearly and consistently and keep your clients up to date on where you are and where you're going in the process. Utilize the custom checklists and smart plans and opportunities in Command. Market updates can be part of your custom checklists and smart plans. We'll cover checklists more in our contract to close session. Make sure you share your KW app and be sure your buyer and seller guides are up to date and in sync with current market conditions. So for example, in parts of the country where national disasters have made home insurance significantly more expensive in recent years, perhaps you move checking for insurance quotes up in your buyer's timeline, post inspections, during the inspection, and due diligence period. If your market is slowing down, you may put more time early in your seller timeline, home staging to be sure the home will show well in the first few days on the market. 2 items you should input into your checklists in Command are to ask for reviews and referrals. Which brings us to the next slide. So 3 steps to gaining referrals. So you might be thinking, I haven't even put an offer in on a house. Why am I asking for reviews and referrals? Well, because you're already providing value, which is the first step to gaining referrals and reviews. And from the beginning, you want to tell your client, throughout this process, I'm going to give you amazing service and earn your trust so that you'll want every member of your family to work with me. 68% of sellers who used an agent found their agent through a referral by a friend or family member. So there's 3 simple steps to gain referrals. Number 1, provide value. So provide stellar service, provide education, advice, and care. Just what we were talking about here. Number 2, ask for help. Let people know that your business is based on referrals. Your conversations book has some great, easy ways to ask for this help. It can be as simple as, Jennifer, I rely on referrals. If you know anyone that is looking to buy or sell, I'd be so grateful if you could let me know. People don't know what you need unless you ask for it. And number 3, reward. So you want to reward the behavior of referral. Don't wait for closing. As soon as a client or other member of your SOI or sphere of influence tells you that they gave out your information, mentions you on social media, or someone calls based on their recommendation, thank and reward the person who referred them. Send a gift card, send a card with a gift card for coffee, take them out for coffee, or better yet, send a small gift to their office where not only they will feel appreciated, but others might ask about it.
That's a gangster move.
That's a whole. Yeah. Finally, ask for reviews throughout the transaction. Has anyone here done work on their house recently, needed a plumber or contractors?
Yes, in the middle of it.
Yeah. Or maybe moved to find a daycare for the children or a new hairstylist or mechanic. Well, where did you start your search?
With your friends.
Yep. Yeah, friends, reviews. I mean, when I'm buying stuff, for sure like Amazon too, right? That's the first. Because there's so many products and so many categories. The first I'm looking at is like reviews. So we all use the internet pretty much daily to read reviews on businesses to make our decisions. Buyers and sellers do the same. You need to be sure that you have as much of a positive web presence as possible. In great news, you already have your own website through KW. It's the one place you'll be sure your reviews are accurate and accessible. Telling potential clients how successful you are at finding and selling homes can be effective. It's even more effective when other people do the bragging for you. It lends statements more credibility. It's a great place to use in your marketing and buyer and seller presentations. Does anyone have a good process for getting reviews?
I used to be on the laptop but they send out the email, I think, on behalf of themselves.
Yeah.
But they said maybe after it's over, the process is over, they'll send out an email to the buyer and seller.
Okay.
But I do like the thought of asking for a review earlier. Cause, worst case scenario, if you don't actually help them or they change their mind or whatever, you already have the review.
Got locked in.
Yeah, it's so much harder to get a review from a person after everything is over,
Yeah.
as opposed to during the process where they know that you really are helping.
Yeah. So Dana has hers, it sounds like automated with that service, right?
Yeah, I think they are sending out a request for review on behalf of their company, not necessarily on my behalf.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But so the suggestion would be that we just have some sort of process or a step in our task within command to ask for reviews.
Gotcha, yep. We call, at least at TCG, the Chivalry Group, the good news review. So usually like whenever the best news in a transaction, so if we're working with a buyer and if it's appraisals in the home, just appraised like overvalue, that's usually a great, time to like, hey Dana, I'm so excited, I just reviewed the appraisal, talked to the lender, like it appraised 10,000 over, you're walking in with $10,000 equity. If you remember during our buyer consultation, my goal is to have a 5-star experience and to ask them for reviews and referrals. Do you mind if I just text you a quick link and go from there? Same with inspections, if they were clear, say you just finalize the defect notice, got that squared away, that's usually a good time. That's usually a really stressful part. With sellers, ideally you list, get multiple offers, create terms, Hey Tanya, if you remember during our listing, strategy session, it was my goal to get, sell your home as quickly as possible with as many offers and, the best terms that we could garner. If you're satisfied, with the experience thus far, if I texted you a review link, would you mind just taking 30 seconds to, just going from there? Or right at closing with your buyer or seller. But as Dana said, it's the further from closing that gets away from you, it does, because the honeymoon phase has ended, and they're unpacking and all the things. So
I like where you're going with the appraisal, if it comes in over, and the flip side would be is if you were able to get your buyer under contract under the list price. I never thought about that, like, help to save them, if it's listed for $250 and you were able to get it for like, $240, or to get even the commission taken care of, like all of those are times to celebrate and to ask them for a review at that time.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I closed a first time home buyer in October. We got some down payment assistance. We got an under list price, and they ended up going to closing, getting a check $400 instead of bringing any money. So it's like, talk about. We got a full defect notice negotiation. It was, man, I want more of those. But yeah, any instance where good news.
Yeah, the one really good one I got, he sent me a text like, oh my God, you're a godsend. So I immediately said, hey, can you leave me a review?
Yeah,
yeah, and that's what he put as a review too. So it's taking that opening when they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, hey, reviews are something I use a lot in my marketing. Would you mind leaving me a review if I shoot you this link real quick? And my phone, I also have it saved as on my clipboard, so it's a quick thing for me to get, so I don't have to go back and find it.
And think, yeah, good, yes, really good.
So that and my happy birthday stuff on Facebook or both, and so I think it's cool.
Yeah. So Jennifer has a process.
Yeah, I do that.
So check out this request for a review. If you're purchasing or selling experience exceeding your expectations, would you be so kind as to give me a brief review? I'd also like your permission to use this in my advertising and marketing.
So I don't put that bottom line in there. If someone gives a review, obviously I'm going to use it. I never put their full name in there.
Yeah,
so
that means being like super safe.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, I have never once asked permission.
Yeah,
you put it in writing, that it can be shared. It's on a website. I know
for sure.
Sorry, that's
no.
I always think that's funny when I see that.
So seller reviews. So seller-oriented reviews gain attention when they address things like the client's home sold quickly, they got above their asking price, or asking price, and they were impressed by the service. Yeah, so I touched on this, it's selling side. I think I got ahead of myself a little bit, I just got excited about reviews. So yeah, so buyer reviews, you know, some instances when reviews, maybe a good time to send out the review link. They found their home, their perfect home quickly. The agent negotiated a great price, kind of like Dana said, maybe below this price. The transaction went smoothly, which, you know, we as agents, I feel like shoulder so much that sometimes the consumer, the client doesn't see, just dealing with a nasty bill off, an incompetent inspector, you know, a title company that just fumbles up things, like we're doing all kinds of stuff that ideally we shield the client away from, so they feel like it's a smooth experience. And then number 4, they were impressed by the service. Any ahas from this section before we move on to success with buyers? Yeah.
Just use the opportunities when there's those victories along the way in the process to ask for the review.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's and you can honestly too, Tanya. I would say some people, like if you're being on social, they will like, you know, they could create like a short video or just a post. If it's a static post, and just say, you know, just negotiated X amount of seller, you know, paid concessions, or so you're basically dispelling any myths like, you know, think you can't get in a home for under X amount or in this neighborhood, or yeah, you can basically use parts of the transaction to create and memorialize you know, marketing, social media, things like that. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, especially when you were saying about like the myths on down payment assistance, and then you get a seller to pay and then reiterating that on social media. Yeah, that's
I used to have one pay $8,000 in closing. I haven't had that one.
yeah. So any of those things.
Yeah.
So
Remember,
that
too, like the
more-
closing may not go smoothly, so if you're asking when something else good happens, you still might get one good review out of it, because sometimes things do get rough at the end.
Oh,
So if that does happen, and you've already gotten the review when you went under contract, and when appraisal came back, you got 2 reviews, and so you don't ask for one at closing if you know that it was not
Yeah.
the best time for them,
Yeah.
or God forbid it didn't close.
God forbid.
All right, so we've covered a lot so far, from dual agency to reviews and referrals. Most importantly, we talked about the key ways to create happy client relationships by consistently and clearly communicating regarding the current market and process of buying and selling. Now let's talk specifically about what buyers need from you. So this chart, again, kind of like when we talked about sellers on the last session. What this speaks to me is that, again, these percentages will vary right from year to year, but they basically want an agent to help find the right home purchase, negotiates the price for negotiations for repairs, and then also comes to the sale. That's fundamentally, I think, going to be what most buyers want, right? They want their perfect home. They want to work through the stress of inspections and, you know, defects, and then they want ideally, you know, acceptable terms, closing timeline. And this is more so than with the lender, but you know, how the monthly payment would be, just guiding them with those things. So for buyer needs analysis, so the first step in stellar buyer service is being aware of their needs. You should have conducted a thorough needs analysis with your initial buyer consultation leading up to your signed agreement. If you didn't, it's your first step post-agreement. So revisit this process in your notes for session 14. So why might we want to revisit needs analysis of providers?
It can change.
Yes, yep.
Sometimes just to remind them of what they said they needed, because sometimes they kind of forget what their priorities are.
Yeah.
I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with one of my buyers because, like, they were all over the place. So
Yeah,
you have the conversation in the beginning, and you get a needs analysis, and then, and then you start looking at houses, and they get all over the place. Then you have to have a needs analysis again. Okay, so I think what you said was important in the beginning isn't important anymore, so I just wanna make sure we're all in alignment, something like that. So that
You
we
walk
get
into a
back on the
house
same
and they're
page.
like, oh, we just wanted to see the house, we don't wanna buy it, we just thought it looked cool.
Oh, no,
No, no,
absolutely, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, so it's
Seen gas prices?
remind. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, it's always good to remind them more than once on what they really needed in a house and not just what looks pretty on the outside.
For sure.
And make sure that they're focused on that.
Yeah, be that guiding light back to what is causing them.
And by having it in writing too, they can't argue that they didn't say that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer's a bulldog. She'll remind you of the name. So basically, yeah, it's kind of what we brainstormed falls into two categories there. The buyer's lives change or the world changes. So whether it changed in their lives or the world around them, you may need to revisit the needs analysis during the transaction. Revisiting the needs analysis can also help you find out why homes that should be perfect for your buyer are not inspiring offers. Believe it or not, sometimes what we think we desire is not what we need. If you're showing them all the historic houses you thought were having thrilled in an attempt response, it's it's time to find out why. It's also common for buyers to get frustrated in a tight market and start looking outside of their criteria. Maybe you have empty nesters looking to downsize, you suddenly start looking closer to their current square footage. If so, it's time to find out why. Are they realizing that their earlier number was too small? Or are they just getting frustrated at not finding what they need? This is also a great tool to use when buyers start looking above their price point. So revisit their needs and their criteria and remind them that you're their fiduciary, not just a person who opens the door and looks at pretty homes. There we go. Tough conversation. We talked a little bit about this earlier, Rick, with definitely being on the same agent and talking to sellers and kind of the type of market we're in. Tough conversations and more fiduciary conversations. A thorough and frequently revisited needs analysis is your greatest resource in having tough conversations with clients. Conversations about what they can afford, the realities of the market, timelines, and move-in ready versus fixer-uppers are strengthened by referencing the needs analysis. What are some other conversations we need to have with clients along the way?
Their ideal budget versus their max budget, because they don't always want to spend their max or even look at their max. So we need to be sure where we're at on both of those.
Yep. Just because you can afford on paper or something, maybe it's the best choice. Yep.
Or if they wanted to stay at a certain range, so like, let's say they got approved for 450 and we want to stay around 400, what that payment looks like, and then you get out there and see what that looks like, then you can have another conversation with them regarding, hey, are you sure that you're not willing to go up a little bit more to get what you said that you wanted in the beginning?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yep. I think working hand in hand with the lender, because every $10,000 in purchase price. Yes, it's important, and the home must praise, right? Let's not confuse that. But if that means the difference between them getting maybe a dream home and being 10 or 20,000 off, because the reality of that monthly payment might be 21. Yeah. So
Depending on how long that house has been on the market, there may be negotiation or which I know everybody's right now, and you can't negotiate, but I've negotiated plenty of them down.
I've got 2 listings down with that. Something.
You shouldn't say that because I want to look those up and see.
No, that's please. Yeah, we'll have a tough conversation with so. And just things like not buying a piano a week before closing, financing the car, all these certain things.
Changing your names, it's quite taught, I think somebody changed their name in the middle of the process, like their full name, it's like pretty.
Yeah, basically any big, even small life change, like just stop, like so the closes,
And a client that was actually in the process of a name change, so we went to title company, like, okay, what do we need to do, what documentation we need to have, because it's already started the process, so we can't reverse it, and just, yeah, knowing up front they're gonna do that, it's. And I knew why she was, but I was like, why don't you wait until,
Right.
she didn't want her old name on any of the documentation, so. Yeah, some people,
Some people.
she used to be an agent, she knew better.
So showing homes based on needs analysis. So now that we've talked about how we can use the needs analysis to help our buyers stay on track and discuss some conversations we need to have with them, let's talk specifically about showing homes. So showing homes is a process like anything else. First, you need to find the home that fits your client's needs analysis. You'll find MLS classes to help you do this. And you'll also need to make sure that your buyer is set up on your KW app and show them how to search for a home and follow the buying process with your guides. In choosing the homes, you will show clients there's some typos in here, I apologize. You'll show clients based on their needs analysis and expectation setting. As we mentioned in extreme seller's market, you should not show homes at the top of your client's price point. You shouldn't show homes that your client would need closing cost assistance from the seller to purchase. This is all predicated on the second extreme seller's market. Once your MLS search comes back with suitable homes for your buyer, you will preview those homes so that you can choose the best properties to show your buyer on the first trip out. Remember, you are showing your value by sharing your expertise. So here are 6 best practices for showing homes. Number 1, show only the best properties for your buyer, ones that you have thoroughly screened in advance to meet the criteria. Number 2, have MLS printouts or electronic versions, the pricing information and key details of each property you will show your buyer, including disclosures. 3, mark properties on a map and answer location questions. 4, be knowledgeable about the property and neighborhoods. 5, include recent comparable sales so you can answer pricing questions. And 6, point out potential issues and concerns with each house. Are there any other ideas that when someone's reviewing homes, like the best practices they have to make sure that their buyers are seeing the best of them?
I always email all the disclosures ahead of time, but then I always have a copy of the MLS sheet with me because I can't remember every house I see.
For sure.
And then I note on mine anything on the disclosures that we need to kind of make sure we look at over there.
Yep.
So if they said there's a water leak, we want to go find it so that they can see how bad it is, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying that for this, you're pre-approving it, right? Before you.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, yes. Yeah,
Seems like it might be a waste of time.
100%. Yeah, ideally, if we're at this juncture during the process, they have to be signed to show homes. And yeah, I mean, they're pre-approved, they're paying with cash, you have a proof of funds.
Okay.
I mean, it's in truly no one's best interest to show homes to unqualified buyers. It's a disrespect to the seller to have them leave if they're living there to leave the home. Plus, it's our job as agents, like it's our responsibility, like why we're agents, to bring, that's what private showings are for, right? We are bringing, should be a qualified, ready, willing, able buyer through a home with the intention of purchasing. Now, if the home isn't, that's a different story, but yeah, definitely they should be pre-approved or.
Okay.
Some people argue with that, but I'm sorry, my time's too valuable. I'm not running around with clients that they can't even call and get a pre-approval.
You say plus, like you said a minute ago, like some people just want to look at a pretty house, like that's.
They just want the nice entertainment.
Which is nice about that. I'm a loan officer also, so when I send them the loan app, I can see if they've done anything with it too. So I know even if they've started the process, how far they're into it. Even if they're not quite pre-approved, but they're uploading docs, they're doing stuff, then I'll probably go, okay, we can start. If they're really wanting to see something. But yeah, it's just not worth it. Like I can't tell you the number of times early on in my career where I got burned.
Well, here's the thing.
It was not fun.
Yeah. And the thing too, like, here's the gut punch. Say, do look at Warnerfield. let's just say the price is $350,000. They finally do their pre-approval, I'm gonna qualify for like 250. That's gonna hurt emotionally, like,
And the houses are not the same in those two price ranges.
No.
If their area stays the same, they're getting a lot less house.
yeah. And again, see gas prices?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Why are you showing up on your bicycle? Oh, gas
look, man,
I need a floozy, write an offer.
so showing homes means agent interaction. So once you're ready to show homes to buyers, always read the listing agent remarks and be sure you are scheduling according to the listing agent's instructions. Calling the listing agent to schedule an appointment when the instructions clearly say they would like you to use a scheduling service will not endear you to them. Trying to schedule for tomorrow when the instructions say the first showing isn't for 2 days is similarly challenging. This doesn't mean you can't contact the agent to ask questions not answered in the listing, just to be sure to read the listing on all the attachments first. Remember, scheduling is the first contact you have with the potential agent on the other side of the buyer's transaction. How you make that contact matters for how they will see you throughout the transaction. If your system enables feedback, leave it. Feedback helps the listing agents to inform sellers of how their home is being seen. It allows them to show off their expertise, and you helping them do it is being a good call. So do be diplomatic. Some agents have comments that go directly to sellers, and if you say the house smells terrible, yeah, they may get an earful from their seller. This will not be endearing to them.
They may need to hear.
That's right. If scheduling,
I've never read them remarks, but I will always be honest.
yeah. If scheduling well in advance, always confirm your appointment with your buyers and the listing agent 24 to 48 hours before. And just as a side note, in the extreme sellers market, this will likely not be possible, as you will need to get in to see listings as soon as they hit the market. So be sure your buyer knows also when and where they'll be. This is a home tour toolkit. I really only care personally. Sheet covers.
I have all of these in my car right now.
Do you?
just so you guys know.
Yeah,
Except for the graphite, I would never spray someone else's lock.
yeah, that might be a little. Now that the paperwork, I mean, like MLS sheets, stuff like
I
that.
got my computer.
Yeah. Yeah. Who needs a tape measure when I just bring my buyers do?
I'd rather have a week.
So safety first when showing homes, and don't forget safety, right? So remember the tips from open houses. Always be aware of your surroundings and only meet clients that you have already vetted. Do not go to vacant homes with an unknown buyer alone. From Louisville, you guys have Forward, right?
We do.
Yeah, okay. Do you know what Forward? Yeah, yeah. That's, I love Forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always announce yourself, even if you've been told a listing is empty, or if the owners will be gone. Knock before opening the door and announce yourself loudly and repeatedly upon entering. Warn clients that many homes have cameras and even audio recording equipment. Keep comments on the home out of range of the home itself. The driveway is not good enough. Either cross the street to talk or do it from another location. Yeah, I assume. I don't even say it's paranoid, but I just assume I'm being recorded, like, you know.
Are you advising your clients? To ask?
Yeah, especially, I mean, and sometimes it's really, like they've got the camera or the thing, I just, as we pull up, if it's the first time working with the buyer or showing at the driveway, I'll say like, they've shown it, like part of the listing agreement stipulates they shouldn't have any recording devices, but let's assume the worst. So any comments or anything, let's just kind of keep to ourselves. We can reconvene at the car, or at the driveway after the showing. So our job is to sell homes, not just to show homes. So pay attention to your buyer's body language and cues to avoid continuing to show them homes they don't like, even if they are the best ones from your search. If you show the buyer the first two homes on your list, they hate them, and you know they will hate the third, cancel your last showing. Use that time to dig deeper into their preferences and needs because you've missed something. With each showing, you should be getting closer to putting in an offer. Consider the property elimination question. If you had to choose a property or house to purchase right now, which one would you select, A or B? Okay, great. We can cross A off the list. In your expectation setting prior to showing homes, you will need to let buyers know that they are unlikely to find the perfect house, so it probably doesn't exist. You are looking for a house that meets their needs, not their every desire. It's like looking for a partner or spouse. If you're waiting for someone perfect, you're going to stay single.
Is that really, that's hilarious, that's in the notes.
Yeah. Myself. If you found the person that was 80% perfect, you'd be lucky. The same goes for houses. So if you find an 8 out of 10, especially in a seller's market, that's a house they should likely be making an offer on. And when your client is ready to buy, be quiet, stop selling, and get an offer submitted as soon as possible. So 4 reasons why buyers hesitate. So your job is to help your buyers make the best decision for them. Buying a home is a big deal, and buyers can experience hesitation and reluctance. So number 1, they may be afraid to commit. 2, they don't like some minor detail of the home. Number 3, they feel like they haven't seen enough homes. And 4, they need to sleep on it to get the opinion of a trusted advisor. Lately, I'm seeing like number 2, I'm seeing goofy on my listings, I'm seeing some of the silliest feedback. I mean, I got one just 2 days ago. They didn't want to be in a cul-de-sac.
Really?
Did they not know that they were driving to a cul-de-sac?
I mean, it is.
Say my first reaction was that I would totally like Google like what the cost of moving a house is and like send them an article on it. Because like that's just like the stupidest thing I ever heard. Like you knew the house was in a cul-de-sac when you scheduled it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, it's because so you guys know a lot of agents don't even go in MLS. Their clients send them a house, they go into showing time and schedule it.
Yeah.
They don't even bother to pull up the MLS list before they go. It's ridiculous. So like if they didn't know it was in a cul-de-sac, number 1, you should know the areas you're showing it.
Yeah.
Number 2, look it up.
Well, not only that, but usually it's people want to be in a cul-de-sac, right? I mean, for the most part, it's a generalization. But so yeah, that's part of the feedback I'm seeing.
It's crazy.
I had one of
The
the.
client needs 4 bedrooms. Why don't you look at a 2-bedroom house?
Yeah.
Like, at least call me first and ask me if there's a possibility of a non-legal bedroom somewhere in the house. You know what I mean? Like, there's,
Yeah.
yeah, it just, I don't understand it. I really don't.
I had one under contract, like Saturday, maybe it was Saturday afternoon. And then they canceled it the same day because the buyer didn't realize that there was a train track that went through the back of the house, behind the house, and they thought that they weren't gonna be able to sleep. And you're like, trains last for how long? 10, 15 minutes as it's going past, like, are you? I just thought that was.
I would have looked it up too and saw what the train schedule is. I think trains are restricted on neighborhood run-throughs to certain hours. And most areas that I'm aware of, they are restricted.
You would think, well, there was a short-term rental in Atlanta that we were at, that the train was going through like 4 o'clock in the morning, and you like, this train.
Atlanta's one of them that doesn't restrict it apparently.
But anyway, like you said, there's this, and that's conversations with your bias to your about the consultation.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If they don't like cul-de-sacs that much, then that definitely should have been.
Yeah. Well, like Jennifer said, just look, because the reality is, at least in Cincinnati, we are not so much in the cute sellers market where we can take the extra 5 minutes to, back in 2022, it's like,
You just got
just send your listings, let's get like, shoot first, aim and ask questions later. But with how much inventory there's available in the market that we've shifted into, you've got time to look up geographically where the house is, I think. So guidelines to facilitate decision making. So how do your buyers make decisions followed? So this slide just kind of goes over, what screams out to me is will always go to the next motivation. Timeline. they're having a baby, they need an extra, more space, they're, downsizing, they need a single level. The rent is up in 2 months, like they need to move. And just, tying back. Usually timeline is pretty. That's usually a great motivator, right? Someone's having a baby in 3 months. We need a house. They have to get the order. He's going into a place, like we gotta settle, like we gotta downsize. School district, school season starts in 4 months. We need to be in this school district by July. Yeah,
No, they can't move into a school district and register their kids like within a few days of each other, so if they're moving into a school district, they gotta have some time.
yeah, it's a great point.
It's. Yeah, or be very open with the school district and let them know we're under contract for closing this day, like it's.
Yeah.
The closer you cut it, the harder it is to get a kid into that school.
Any ahas for buyers before we move on to sellers?
I'll look at that list and I want to see if you've got all that stuff in your car. Whereas my truck has behind the seats, you can store stuff, and I mean, I've got first aid kit, I've got probably 3 or 4 ponchos, like I've got everything in there.
Well,
I could live out of my car.
So now that we've covered some common aspects of working with buyers, from agreements to offer, now let's focus on what sellers need from us during the period. So this one is a little more eclectic, I guess, if you will, a little more options, but yeah, it's again kind of what we cover with one seller. They want, for the most part, the agents to have the price them competitively, how they market the home, and then time frame. It's can you market my home? Can we sell it quickly? And can I net the most amount of money for my home? And do you have any suggestions of what we should fix up or remove or repairs to be made? That's usually pretty consistent year over year. So for seller needs, we start in the same place with sellers that we do with buyers, their needs analysis. For sellers, we need to know their price, time frame, and conveyances so that you can give them great offers from able, ready, and willing buyers. Just as with buyers, when things aren't going as you think they should, you need to revisit and perhaps even revise their needs analysis. Just as with buyers, either the seller's life can change or the world around the seller can change. For example, the seller could lose their job, so carrying their mortgage on a house becomes difficult or impossible, thus changing their time frame. Perhaps the seller finds their dream home, puts in an offer, and needs to remove predication ASAP, also changing their time frame. Or perhaps the local economy shifts, putting fewer buyers in that price range on the market, or flooding inventory as people sell to move away, which can shift their price and or their conveyances. So stay in touch, over communicate, and know when you need to change your game plan by altering the needs analysis. So what is sellers control? Price and condition. Your job is to know the market and advise them on how to get the best price with the least amount of work in the quickest time frame. Therefore, you need to know your market to know how they can best prep their house. So when I'm looking through a house, it's presentation, right? And again, this is where the area is going to command different finishes, different repairs. In Cincinnati, there are 52 neighborhoods, so each pocket, each city, each municipality has different requirements of what are acceptable. An area like Marymount or Oakley or Hyde Park are going to have different amenities and features acceptable to that community in an area where Cheviot, Delhi, Oakwood, Batavia might command. So it's important to know so you can advise your clients on what, if any repairs to be done, amenities to upgrade, and so forth. Or not to over improve, right? You could be working in one of those communities and You know, you probably don't need the garden tub and the skylights and in the primary bathroom. I mean, you could, but it's knowing the market, knowing the area, kind of like Jennifer said, it's just doing the research and knowing what's selling in the neighborhood. Sensitive seller conversations. So getting a home ready to sell for the highest price with the least work and the best time frame can involve some sensitive conversations. Hardly anyone keeps their house show ready all the time, and it's more of a challenge for some sellers than others. What are some issues that any of you have come up with sellers in the condition of their home that you've had to deal with delicately?
Smells,
Smells, yeah.
whether it's animals or personal or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's, people are very sensitive when you tell them that their house stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Pets, smoking, just sometimes you say each at the home, yeah, yeah. That one's tricky.
I've always found having other agents go through it and giving their feedback makes it a softer blow to them.
Yeah.
Because it's not you saying it, it's other agents saying, hey, when I walked in, I noticed this.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I don't directly really get involved in staging recommendations because, you know, if I bring in my stager Erin, she's the bad guy, right? I mean, truly, she's the professional. She's making all the recommendations and, you know, kind of telling them the baby's ugly. I'm just in the introduction. But it's within their scope of expertise too, and that's their field. But yeah, like Jennifer said, sometimes having a third party also coming in to relay that information is it's better. It's less delicate than just the agent. What about some issues that come up around price?
That's, to me, that is all expectation setting, is that this is where we're pricing it now. If it doesn't sell in 2 weeks, I'm gonna reevaluate comps and we're gonna have to have a, whatever the time frame is for average days on market. And actually, I usually use median days on market, not average.
Sure.
Median days on market, that's when I'm gonna let them know we're gonna have another conversation. And I will repull comps, but I need you to also keep it in mind where you need to be, because if we're not selling, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
And if everything else looks good, our feedback is solid, but for some reason, not doing that, it doesn't. It's sensitive, but you've gotta have it.
Yeah.
And it's probably the hardest one, I would say, that agents go through, is that conversation with sellers.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got this thing in their mind that we always tell them to drop the price. But if price and value are not, or price and condition are not meeting, then they're not willing to change the condition, they gotta change the price.
Yep. Absolutely. That's and price is the easier lever to pull. I mean, it's like you said, is someone truly gonna renovate the kitchen, like, or whatever the feedback, like,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like,
They're not gonna do that, they're not
Yeah.
gonna put in all new, well, they may put in all new carpet.
yeah,
But, you know, it's, you can, but if you've really got that direct feedback, it's helpful, but you don't usually have it.
yeah. And oftentimes, most of these objections are things like we use a TCG, what is it? We get feedback like, oh, buyer just wanted more square footage, or buyer wanted a different area. And James, our executive director, always says for the price. So what that means is the buyers, you know, want more square footage for the price. And so we can't control some of these things on feedback we get. Like they want more square footage, they want a bigger backyard, they want a different area, they don't want to be in a cul-de-sac. We can't control some of these aspects, feedback that we get from buyers agents or buyers. So again, that easiest lever to pull is price.
So how are you dealing with like issues, let's just say the house smells like cigarettes or something? How are you dealing with that? Like, that's the feedback you're getting. You just gonna cut the saw loose, or you gonna? And then what are you gonna do?
Do you mind, Ryan?
No, I think, yeah, you got.
I've actually dealt with this.
Yeah.
There is cleaning products that can help reduce the smell. There is things that can be done. So I would propose to them, this is what we need to do, but if you're not willing to do that, having that kind of smell in a house is a detrimental thing. It's the same thing as having leaky pipes or having
Sure.
other conditions. So we need to reduce the price to make it a value for the buyers that are coming through.
Okay.
Sometimes they're not willing to do it. I mean, it's being an ex-smoker, like the smell of cigarettes just drives me crazy now, but some people, when I smoked, I did not realize how bad it smelled. So it's sometimes it is having that, like, it's not just me, like, if you'd like, I'll bring other agents through that can, give their feedback directly too, offer whatever you can, but it's.
Yeah.
It's, honesty is the only way to do it. I can tend to be very direct, some people can deliver it softer than I can, but I've always been very direct. And I can deliver it soft if I have to, if someone's very sensitive, but most time people are like, yeah, I know, I need to quit, I can't believe I'm still smoking after all. Sometimes like they know that it's bad, so they're like, okay, what do we do now? Number one, stop smoking in your house. Open up some windows, let's at least try to air it out a little bit.
Well, there's a couple ways too, like are they, during the consultation, they be open-minded to addressing it beforehand? Like, to correct it before you go on the market, because that then alleviating the. So it's just finding
I
out.
had a bad one, I mean, it was almost $20,000 to remediate the smell, and it was horrible. Oh, thank God I didn't have to do it. It's Kentucky agent. So, I wasn't licensed in Kentucky, so I couldn't touch
Is that cheating?
it. It was before Keller.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair housing. So unfortunately, there's another uncomfortable conversation you may be forced to have with the seller. You may have to inform your client that they are violating the Fair Housing Act and if they refuse to stop their course of action. You will have to withdraw their listing and cancel the listing agreement. According to NAR, National Association of Realtors, if you have a client who is violating fair housing laws, you should follow these best practices. Number one, remind the client of their obligations under the Fair Housing Act and their policy not to discriminate. Number two, discontinue representation of the client as word and deed, what they've said or done, violated fair housing laws. Number three, report the incident to your broker immediately. 4, fully document the situation in writing, including all client actions and those you took in response. And number 5, if you are unsure if the client is violating fair housing, consult an attorney.
You have an example?
I know Jennifer's a lot more plugged into.
I teach ethics in Ohio. Number one thing that I've heard personally is usually when they're asking for a neighborhood that is of a certain makeup. Even if it isn't, they want it diversified, like that can be a fair housing, but, and I just explained to them, like, look, I can't search on that. But some things can be like, I don't want to sell to somebody with, I've had someone tell me this, I don't want to sell to somebody that doesn't have an American last name.
Oh, wow.
When we got an offer, the first thing they wanted to do was look and see who signed it.
My goodness.
So like stuff like that, like you gotta explain to them, like, I understand, like you've got a different background than I do, but we cannot base our choices on anything that violates fair housing laws. Here are the protected classes. If you have an issue with any of this, I can't work with you. And I actually had an investor that was pushing me like that wanted to look in certain neighborhoods, and like the way he was wording it, I've got to report it. I'm like, this is not, I cannot operate like this. This is not how I run my business. And like 2 weeks later, he called me back. He's like, I looked up the law and I'm sorry. And we are working together. So he didn't understand what he was asking. Basically, all he wanted was a neighborhood with young professionals.
Yeah.
Young professionals is actually a designation of people under 40. I gave him tools to research those neighborhoods. And I said, you need to research it and tell me what neighborhoods you consider to be young professionals. And age is a protected class.
Yeah.
But young, it's a weird thing. I asked several people about this before. I said, look it up and tell me what you want to look at. I knew exactly what neighborhoods he wants. I'm not going to name them because that would probably be a fair housing violation. But I just saw myself there. I'm like, but he came back with the neighborhoods that I already had the search ready to go because I knew what he was talking about. I can't do it either. There are certain up and coming neighborhoods that you typically have a lot of young people that have too much money, is basically what he was looking for. We base it on money, we can do that. I can't base it on age. But so, young professionals is a term that means people under 40 that are in professional jobs. So
That's a good example. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes you gotta be tough, and it's when people. But I mean, do we really want to work with those people?
Yeah.
Like seriously, like I do not. That's not my life. I do not want to do that.
Other
But I don't think some people know that they're putting off those things or saying those things inappropriately. So they may not realize what they're talking about, it's a married class, like, I don't want. Because I lived in this condo forever, I don't want to sell to a family that's got a bunch of young kids, they're gonna run around and be loud. They don't realize that familial status is protected. So, yeah, just things you'd like, I can't ask those questions of a buyer, so don't. We don't need to bring that into the conversation. You want the buyer that's got the most money to pay you, won't you? And usually it settles it down pretty quickly.
Hey, what's up?
I didn't know you were here.
I just walked in. I was over in Southern Indiana, out here.
Fun, fun, fun.
That's best, so. Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, absolutely. So far. So further expanding on fair housing, so here's the WI 4C2TES. So I will say. So no commission is worth your integrity or your reputation. So we discussed the value of including a statement of your commitment to upholding fair housing laws and your listing agreements, and eventually doing so will allow you to avoid these issues. If they come up, you should report the conversation to your broker immediately in discontinuing representation. This will not only protect you legally, but will also help you to prevent discrimination.
Most phones can record calls. If you think something's going on, I would report it just so you've got documentation too. I know on my phone I can set it to record immediately, like if I think something's up. If I call through my CRM, it reports it, but I can have it recorded on my phone. I have done that. Other agents calling it being rude because they were kind of using to listen.
So don't call Jen.
I'm gonna yell. You're gonna be rude to me. You're being recorded. And at least Ohio is a one-side authorization. I can record anybody that calls.
Okay.
As long as I authorize it. I don't know what Kentucky is.
So the 14-step marketing plan for listings, we talked just a little bit about this in last session. So we've also covered seller needs and saw that sellers are looking for an agent to market their home. So let's talk just a little bit about how you're going to market the listing in your brand. So highly productive listing agents market both their brand and the listings at the same time. The marketing opportunity provided by listings is why they are one of the 3 pillars of a successful real estate agent's business: leads, listings, and valuation. When you focus on your listings, buyers will come. We've already talked a lot about how you can do this in our sessions on lead generation, particularly open houses. Open houses should be one part of your marketing plan because they are highly leveraged. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent has a 14-step marketing plan for listings. When you have listings, how do you guys market it? What are some of the things you do?
Yeah, like to social media, obviously. Sure. And houses.
Yeah.
Or open houses.
I mean, truly, like a listing you can do, no limits of. It's like an accordion. You can do as much, you can expand that and stretch it out as much as you want. Yeah.
The sign has worked really well for me too.
Yeah. The signs are. That's why I love with listings, and especially if you're on a team, like you have more agents and listing, like you just get those sign calls and just, those are people calling because they're almost like an open house. They're interested in real estate. They may be looking, they may be a seller, maybe a buyer interested in an area. It's just free advertising.
So I remember early on in my career that I actually did have a seller come through an open house as the interview. They called me the next day and said, "We really like you. We'd like you to come list our house." So keep that in mind when you go to open houses. Sometimes they're using it the other way.
Oh, I use it strictly as a seller appointment. That's the goal I go in with it, but no, I mean, you never know who's interviewing you.
Yeah.
The nosy neighbor two doors down who's thinking about selling in 3 months. Yeah. So this is from Shift, which that's another book, Rick. After the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I would recommend that one as well. So the message you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These 2 questions are at the heart of all effective messaging. So your MLS listing reflects your brand, so get it right. So not only should you be strategic in how you market a home and yourself, much of what we covered in lead generation and more that you can learn about in Connect live sessions and other KW trainings such as no ceilings to level up the lead generation, you should set your listing up for success by having all necessary documents for your MLS and that you're giving potential buyers and their agents the best view of the house. And just as a sidebar, like for example, when we list homes in a condo in an HOA association, we actually at the Chagrin Group, we won't flip the listing live until we get all of those HOA docs. And the reason for that is because at least in the Ohio contract to purchase, that's a termination point for a buyer if they don't receive the, all of the HOA docs. And it's incumbent on the seller to get those. So we want to eliminate any, now the buyers can still review the HOA docs and terminate, but we want to take out as many variables and reasons for them to terminate as possible. So things like HOA docs, residential property disclosure, lead-based paint if it's been back from 1978, and then just additional features of the home like upgrades, amenities, ages of, things like age roof, mechanical systems. Those tend to be very helpful because inevitably the buyer's agent's going to ask, Jennifer, how was the roof? Do you know how was the?
And say, why didn't you look at the MLS docs that's all on there?
Yeah, you would say that.
It's
sure.
a nice friendly way.
Yeah, did you check the attached docs? Yeah. Yeah.
Usually.
So in utilizing the right professionals to get great pictures of floor plans, so you may even consider staging real or virtual for some listings. So remember, you're not just marketing the house. A lower price listing or even a rental is still a representation of your brand. Is it worth it to get professional photos and floor plans? And those documents represent the agent as well. Also, great pictures and other aspects of your listing marketing can be used in future listing packets and marketing.
Trustee, they know if you used your cell phone to take pictures. You will never take professional pictures with your cell phone.
Oh, that's my thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then
It's
with
respectful
using-
to the seller that it be higher.
With using the right pictures, oh my goodness, I've had some rough listings and the professional pictures have been just amazing. Like I'll be like, I saw the house and those pictures are amazing. I had two listings that I was like, dude, you did a really good job with those pictures.
I would tell people when we walk in and they're like, this doesn't look like the picture. They're like, they were strategic in that. Yeah, I tell them that's the photographer's job is to get you to the house. And that is what they're there for. It's shouldn't be deceiving, but there is
I know.
about certain pictures to make it still look decent.
This anybody is miraculous.
That's their job. Just like when you go get your headshot, you don't want a real picture, you want a good picture.
JC Penney collection.
Oh, yeah, that's the last one that is.
And number 3, set the right schedule for your listing. So when is the right schedule for listings in your market? Do certain areas have broker or agent tours on particular days? Are NFL game days a no traffic day in your area? Is your seller able to leave the house more readily on weekends than weekdays? Does it make sense to schedule an open house 2 days after listing and hold all showings until that day to build interest and reduce inconvenience for the seller?
If you don't want to.
Yeah. Are open houses well attended in the first week on the market and then not so much after that? Or do you see an increase in interest in homes listed on a Thursday or Friday?
I don't know about Kentucky, but you cannot put a listing in Ohio or in Cincy MLS and hold the showings on that. That is against the rules. It has to be available for showings as soon as it is active. And you can limit times if you don't want showings past 7 p.m. or something like that, but you cannot block out all showings until you're at the house. That is against the rules.
Absolutely.
Make it active an hour before you're at the house if you want. But
So as always, KW provides technology to help you market your listings and your brand in the most effective, efficient, and cost-effective ways. Command includes designs where you can get templated options for door hangers, social media posts, flyers, postcards, and more, or create your own. And once you input your personal business assets, these will be saved for you to use over and over. So if you go into command, designs, create design, prints, click the box. So actually, I won't go. This, you'll have, this, you should have copies of this in your participation guide, so I won't. We touched on this with Win with sellers, but just knowing that you can basically anything with KWs, like you can import listings, you've got your own website. I'm kind of old fashioned. I usually use paper sign-in sheets for open houses. One time it was on the fly and I just brought my laptop and to an open house and I had people sign in that way. And yeah, with command, it got shot in straight to to command my website. And I just uploaded that in the phone. But yeah, I mean, you can do so much in command. It's great.
I just figured out how to look at my commission.
Yeah.
That's fun.
For sure.
Running from my cap reset.
Yeah.
I would figure it out.
Big money. So no matter how much technology changes, and we use our phones to find everything, including homes, sign calls still occur. And a sign is one of our best marketing tools. Be sure your sign clearly displays how people can contact you. Always get your sign designs approved by your market center before ordering them, or you may have signs that you cannot use. And be sure to put your sign up as early as you're allowed and in the most advantageous place allowed. And don't forget about the NAR clear cooperation policy, which is most, if a sign goes in the yard, it's got to be active within 1 day, 1 business day.
You can put it out the night before if you're going active the next day.
Yeah. And just, yeah, some HOA communities just beware. I mean, a lot of times there's sign restrictions either within the community for like directionals or house signs. But the HOA docs that we receive from the seller should kind of lay those guidelines out.
Or like you usually can't put it between the sidewalk and the road. If there's like a grass patch there, it has to be in the yard, not in the grass patch between the sidewalk and the road.
Not kind of violence.
No, much of that, yeah.
In some areas you can, but when you come by and your sign's gone, then you gotta figure out which part of the government when it took your sign and.
Yep.
So you know, by Friday at 3 PM, most government workers are not working, so if you wanna put a bunch of directionals out, that's when you do it.
True.
They don't work late on Fridays, so they don't work weekends, usually, at least in our area, they don't.
We got like 2 more slides before we wrap up, but any ahas or revelations, questions? On success with sellers. Yeah, there's more.
Coming up the bold next time we have it. I don't know. I remember you driving up for that, I'm like, you're insane. I did tell Hudson I was gonna drive to Pennsylvania, it was only 6 hours. He's like, if you show up, I show up, is it free? Then I consider it.
So we've talked a lot today about your relationship with your buyers and sellers. We've even touched on some of the ways your broker and market center can help you to understand your role during this period. Let's end this session by briefly discussing another important relationship, the agent on the other side of the transaction. So at this point in the transaction, you'll likely be communicating with several different agents, either listing agents on properties your buyers are interested in, or the buyer's agents representing buyers interested in the listing. Though these contacts may be brief, they are still important. Always remember that you're making the only first impression you're going to get on the agent who may have a great deal to do with your clients successfully buying or selling a home. You can make yourself memorable by being great or terrible, and you will see these people again. We're colleagues now. Be sure to treat everyone with respect and professionalism. Do you need to call another agent at 9 PM? Sometimes you do, but most of the time you don't. Consider an email if your issue isn't dire. As the buyer's agent, did you read all of the agent instructions before calling for an appointment? If not, be sure to do so. Never be afraid to ask questions. Do your due diligence to make sure the answer isn't already in the MLS listing. As the listing agent, have you included all of the information that both sells the house and answers the questions your colleagues need to be answered? Are there standard seller disclosures that need to be submitted with an offer? If so, include them. Does your seller require at least 48 hours to respond to all offers? What are the nature marks? Will the house not be approved for an FHA or VA loan due to the condition? Let your colleagues know before they waste their time in that FHA offer. And don't forget that KW has profit share, so you could be also making a first impression on an agent that could one day be in your downline and contribute to your passive income for the rest of your career. So as we wrap up our morning session, let's do a quick review and capture any odds. So number one, we talked about the general best practices to serve all your clients during the transaction period from agreement to offer, including avoiding how to communicate in a way as to reach the 3 levels of service and operate as a true fiduciary to your clients. Number two, we then covered how to best serve your buyers in this period, including how to utilize their needs analysis to show homes successfully. Number three, afterwards, we covered how to best serve sellers in getting their homes ready to sell, marketing them, and meeting their needs and expectations. And number four, finally, we touched on starting a relationship with the other agent off right in your initial contact. That is everything for today. And so much the last session. Wouldn't mind scanning this QR code. I know it's a little redundant. Yeah, I mean, it all.
I mean, if it's gonna help you get closer to your goal, you'll be all right.
I appreciate that.
We're all going to be here at some point.
I recommend everyone to. I mean, it's no greater way to really know the information. I mean, that's honestly what I teach. I mean, this forces me to focus and
Well, 16, correct?
I guess. And then I think Rick was saying, Rick, were you saying I'm actually on the?
You're on. I see it now.
Okay,
I didn't see it initially.
so my name is Doug Phillips.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm the Doug, but I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could.
Did you put in your application? Or?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know why that is.
Maybe it's a different
There's
Doug.
not another Doug Phillips in there. There was.
I couldn't. I mean, I'm not.
I hope not, because then he has 2 reviews for me.
So what I'll do is I will email Janelle.
Oh, it is a Douglas.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I'm just curious. Before I wasn't there, so.
Let's check, I'm not there, but I'm also not on the second session, yes, so maybe that's what it is.
Doesn't matter. No, my luck will be.
They're gonna know that like what you taught, and I'm sure they can transfer reviews.
Sure.
I'm sure that's not gonna be the first time that happens.